I think we're starting to level off. Well, welcome again, everyone. Thanks for joining. Whether it's the evening, afternoon, morning, thanks for taking some time out of your day to learn a little bit more about Columbia Business School and our MBA program. My name is Nicole Newham. I am a member of the admissions team here at CBS. I've been here for about 4.5 years now, and I'm excited to spend a little time with you all this afternoon talking about our MBA program and the application process. I'm joined by a few other people. I'm joined by my colleague Julian, who's here in the background, managing the Q&A box. So throughout the session, please feel free to drop questions in there, and he will do his best to answer as many as he can. There are a lot more of you than there are of him. Hopefully, a lot of your questions are answered throughout the session, and we will have some time at the end for live Q&A as well. I'm also joined by two current students who have taken time out of their busy internship schedules this summer to spend time with us and talk to us about their experiences. So, Valeria, you're at the top of my screen. Do you want to introduce yourself first?
Yes, of course. Hi, everyone. My name is Valeria Rios. I'm originally from Bogota, Colombia. And before coming to CBS, I was a consultant at McKinsey for 4 years. And I went into the MBA hoping to pivot into tech. So right now I am doing my summer internship at TikTok, where I am working in product strategy. And after the MBA, I hope to continue doing that.
And Connie?
Hi, my name is Connie. I'm a current student in the MBA XMS program with the engineering school. Prior to coming to Columbia, I was actually at TikTok as a data engineer for 4 years. And this summer, I am working as a technical program manager intern at Databricks.
Well, thank you again both for being here today. And both Valeria and Connie are members of our Hermes Society, which are our group of rising second year admissions ambassadors. At the end, I'll kind of point you in the right direction if you're looking to connect with more current students, but thanks again for joining us today. So a quick snapshot of how we will spend the next hour or so. We'll talk a little bit about the MBA program itself. We'll get into the academics, the access you have in New York City, the community here and around campus, the resources that you have access to as an MBA student, and finally some next steps in terms of thinking about the application process. But to kind of get us all in the same state of mind, I'm sure you're all at various stages of research in terms of thinking about different business schools, and might be wondering and joining today to figure out why CBS might be a great choice for you. So these are just a few of the reasons why we think CBS is unique and different amongst our peers. So for one, you will definitely have exposure to a global community and culture. Our MBA class is almost 50% international in citizenship. So just by sitting in class with your peers, you're getting perspectives and experiences from all over the world. And then, of course, as pictured here, you're able to travel the world with your peers and even your faculty members to learn more about how the concepts you're learning in class are being applied globally. So we'll talk more about that later in the presentation. Another kind of key element of our program is that we are big on bridging theory and practice. So you're never really just going to be talked at in the MBA program here. You're going to be given opportunities to go out into the world and see how these academic concepts are being applied in real world settings in all different industries and fields. Um, of course, we are in New York City. I'm definitely biased when it comes to this, but I do think that the advantage that you have by pursuing your MBA in New York City from a career standpoint, from a social and community standpoint, truly is unmatched. So we can definitely talk more about that as we move through the presentation as well. And finally, the network. When people ask me, why do I do this job? What is the value of an MBA? There are a lot of things I can say to respond to that question, but to me, you're not just walking out of the door with a degree from a top business school. You're walking out with a community and a network that's really going to carry into the rest of your professional and personal lives. So happy to touch on that more as we move through the presentation. Just a quick overview of what the school is really focused on right now. This is not a comprehensive list of what our students are studying or pursuing, but if you hear our leadership speak, you'll likely hear them cover one or more of these topics. You know, leveraging the future of finance, people have a big misconception that finance is the only thing that we're good at. That's definitely not true. You heard both of our current students talk about tech, for example. Our students are pursuing a variety of different career paths, not only finance, but we were founded on finance. We are in the financial capital of the world, and we want to ensure we continue to be at the center of that space. We are big on entrepreneurship and innovation. Happy to chat more about that as well. AI, I'm going to touch on the next slide, but really being at the center of how our digital technology is transforming the business world around us. Sustainability and energy is a major focus of the curriculum, of the programming, and of the spaces our students are pursuing careers in. And finally, elevating business and society. We want to be good neighbors. We want to take the skills and practices that are being taught here at the business school and bring them into our local communities and into our, local business economies as well. But we'd be remiss not to just briefly touch on AI before we dive into the rest of the presentation, as it's one of the most common questions we're getting in admissions, um, in terms of how AI is showing up at our school and in our curriculum. So our school is committed to being at the forefront of AI and how it's going to shape the future of our business education and business management. So this fall, there will be over 20 electives offered in this space. We have over 40 faculty members teaching across the curriculum. There's a student-led AI club doing a ton of work and events. And just to kind of highlight one of the tools that was developed by our faculty member, Professor Dan Wong, he developed this tool called Casey for his tech strategy class. So that's not an AI elective, it's a foundational MBA course that many students take. But he used this tool to kind of help prep his students to discuss the case in class. So definitely encourage you to check it out online, do a demo. Other business schools are starting to use it, so it's something we're really proud of and a great example of how we're not just teaching about AI in our curriculum, you're teaching with AI. Our students are being expected to learn with these tools, our faculty members are teaching with them, and equipping them to go out into the real world, into jobs that are rapidly changing and evolving with expectations to use these tools. So this will continue to evolve, I'm sure, greatly, even in the time between now and when you're all potentially enrolling in business school. So keep an eye on that, and definitely look it up if you're interested in learning more. As I mentioned at the top, this information session will really focus on the MBA program, the full-time MBA. But there are a variety of ways to pursue a degree here at Columbia Business School if you're super early in the process and figuring out what's right for you. I encourage you to attend an information session, or reach out to our team if you're interested in any of these other programs. But again, to kind of zero in on the MBA, these are just a few highlights of the scope of what you can experience by pursuing your MBA at Columbia Business School. I won't rattle off all of these slides. I'd love to hear from our students kind of what made you take a step back from your salary, from your full-time job, and decide to go back to school and pursue an MBA degree. What to you made it feel like the right fit and worth your while? Valeria, do you want to start? Because I know you're doing the traditional full-time MBA.
Yes, of course. So, first, my motivation to do an MBA was I wanted to pivot industries, but also regions. So, I was working, as I mentioned, in consulting back in Colombia, and I wanted to come to the US and I wanted to pivot to strategy. So, I felt like the MBA could give me all of the tools to do that. And then why I chose CBS, I think it was a combination of different things. As you mentioned, Nicole, the location was very important for me. I wanted to be in a city that had a lot to offer, both professionally and personally. And New York definitely is that. I also wanted to be in a program that is diverse, and having 50% of the class be international is something that really comes through and something that I've learned a lot through. And then I would say the last thing was just the resources, talking to alumni and to students. I just noticed that Colombia had a lot of resources to help with recruitment, which was super important for me given that I was pivoting industries. Just a lot of internal and external resources and something that they took like very seriously. So I think it came down to that, and also sort of like feeling that I had the right culture fit with everyone I talked to from CBS, and the values that were advertised just sort of made my decision very easy.
Thank you for sharing. Connie, I know you're doing the dual program, but anything to add there?
Yeah, I think I echo a lot of what Valeria was saying already. I think for me specifically, I chose to come to Columbia and to pursue the dual degree program because my background was already in engineering. I knew that I wanted to stay in this industry, but sort of switch tracks into a different role. So right now I'm doing something that's a little bit more product and operations heavy versus in the engineering team. And I think with with the recent AI boom and with how heavily Columbia is investing in making sure that our students are very are like more AI fluent and using it for whatever track we want to pursue. I think that was one of the main driving factors for me to want to come to CVS.
Perfect. Thank you both. Um, so I'm going to dive a little bit more into the specifics of the MBA program moving forward. So from the top, we have two entry points to our full-time MBA program, which is pretty unique amongst our peers. We have our traditional August entry. This is your 20-month MBA program where you do 2 semesters of coursework, head out and do a summer internship like our students are currently pursuing right now. And then in the fall, return to campus and finish out your degree in the fall and spring semester. Um, we see just over 700 students start in August, so this is our larger cohort. We see a lot of people looking to make a career pivot. And again, this is our traditional 20-month MBA program. We also have a January entry program. This is an accelerated full-time MBA. Same exact full-time MBA in terms of the curriculum, the degree, the resources, just a little bit of a different schedule. So instead of taking 20 months to complete your degree, you would do it in 16 months by starting in the spring semester. And then over the summer, you would remain on campus and continue taking coursework. And then in year two, you merge with that August entering class that started the semester before you, and you finish out the second year together as one large MBA class, graduating together in the spring. We see just over 200 students start in January, so this is a smaller cohort. And ideally, this is designed for people who are not looking to make any major career pivot. They don't really need or want that summer internship to be successful in their post-MBA goals. Um, so we see a lot of family business students, entrepreneurs, sponsored consultants, folks looking to return to their firms. We see a variety of profiles. Those are just some common ones for the January entry point. But like I said, regardless of what entry point you pursue, you are going to spend time with the same curriculum, with the same faculty members. So at the kind of core of our curriculum are, of course, our faculty members. We have over 300 faculty members, about half of which are our tenure track faculty members, which essentially means they are PhDs, they're experts in their area of studies, they're pushing out research each year in their respective fields. But we also have adjunct professors. We have over 200 of them, which I think is a very strong number given our location in New York City. Essentially, adjunct professors are faculty members who are actively working in their respective fields or industries. So they're bringing real-time, hands-on experiences and perspectives into the classrooms based on what they're seeing in their given space. So lots of opportunities to learn from them in our curriculum as well. Do either of you have any like favorite faculty members you've gotten to take class with, or someone you're really looking forward to being in class with this fall?
I think I've said this a couple times in the past, but I really, really love Professor Daniel Guerra.
Mm.
The dual degree people took our stats and business analytics classes with him, and he's amazing. I've signed up for both his business analytics 2 and 3 classes, and I'm very, very excited for that. So I would highly, highly recommend taking a class with him or just popping by his office hours if you can.
Yeah, I was also going to say Daniel Guerra, so that speaks a
He
lot
is a
about
fan
him.
favorite for sure.
Yeah.
Awesome. Well, moving on to like the coursework. In the first semester, all students take what we call the core curriculum. These are foundational MBA classes that we want everyone to take in their first semester. Um, so I won't kind of go through all of them on the slide. You'll see it outlined here, and you can also visit our website to learn a little bit more. Um, but I also just want to mention before I turn it over to the students to talk a little bit about the clusters that you take this core curriculum in, just as a preface of what I'm going to ask you. Our students are also required to complete the Phillips Pathway for Inclusive Leadership, which is a co-curricular program throughout the duration of the MBA. This program was designed for students to develop the skills they need to be inclusive leaders, and that looks like a variety of different things in terms of how you can start to build and shape those skills. But essentially, this program has our students attend events each semester, and the requirement is to do a brief write-up on them. But my understanding is that students end up attending multiple PPIL events because of the volume in which they are offered, and the content is super interesting and timely to our students. So just want to call that out as part of the program as well. But can you both talk a little bit about what maybe one of you can touch on clusters and the other on learning teams and what that is and how it kind of influences how you complete the core curriculum?
Yeah, sure. I can speak on the clusters. Basically, if you don't know, for the core curriculum, we get put into groups of 70 people, which are our cluster for the entire MBA experience. And it's like the same group with which you take all of these classes that are listed out here. I think having that cluster experience for me was great. I think some of the like pros about it is that in the MBA you're meeting so many people and it's hard sometimes to form deep connections. So having this sort of like mandatory like time you have with these 70 people just sort of forces you to make deeper connections and to get to know people better. Also, the first semester can be a little overwhelming. You're taking a lot of new classes. Like, I moved to a new country, to a new city. So, like, having this cluster was kind of like a safe space and a place where, like, I already knew everyone. I felt comfortable speaking up in class, sharing my ideas, like, just getting adjusted to the MBA experience was so much easier because I had this group of like 70 people who I was friends with and was sharing so much of my experience with. So yeah, that's a little bit about the clusters. I don't know, Connie, if you want to talk on the learning teams.
Yeah, so learning teams are kind of a subset within your cluster. I think around six-ish people who you work with on a lot of the group projects that you're assigned to in your core courses. So yeah, you basically work with your learning team all of your first semester and in your ops management class in your second semester. And you pretty much get to know each other very well over this course of time. I think it's kind of supposed to mimic like a workplace environment where you are supposed to, learn to collaborate with people and learn to work on different things. But I personally found my learning team to be a great learning experience. Everyone in my team has come from like all over the place and has very different inputs and experiences. So yeah, overall, it's been a really great experience for me.
Yeah, thank you both. I'll just add what Connie started to touch on. Both the clusters and the learning teams are very intentionally designed to be diverse in industry backgrounds and geographic backgrounds so that, like we said, you're getting exposed to as many different perspectives and strengths and weaknesses as you can as you kind of work through this curriculum together. So you'll see in the second and the third and fourth term, you're really focused on taking your electives. So we have over 300 electives at Columbia Business School, and most of which are organized into these what we call curriculum pathways. There's 17 of them. These are not majors or areas of study. You don't have to declare one of these pathways. You don't declare really anything while you're in the program. Everyone graduates with the same MBA degree. You really have the flexibility to pick and choose your electives from these different pathways to build an academic experience that's really tailored towards your unique goals and interests. We've said it a few times, everyone's coming into the MBA with wildly different experiences. They have very different goals. So we don't want to pigeonhole you into just one of these areas. We want you to be able to cherry pick from a variety of areas that are really relevant to why you're pursuing an MBA, and choose electives that's going to give you, the most beneficial and impactful experience in the classroom. Um, so again, these 17 pathways just kind of show you the breadth of which our students are pursuing different spaces and industries. So I encourage you to look these up online, take a look at what classes are in each pathway. These were designed really to be roadmaps for our students to help them understand, given their interest area, perhaps in real estate, what electives they should be thinking about taking. But most of our students are taking electives from a variety of these pathways and putting together a curriculum that works for them. So Connie, I know you haven't had a chance to really dive into the electives just yet, but Valeria, did you take one in your spring semester that was maybe a favorite or have one in the fall that you're looking forward to taking?
Yeah, I had two electives that I really loved. The first one is Business Analytics to Foundations of AI. Like, of course, nowadays everything is AI, and I think that class does a really good job at just like explaining what AI is, how these models are built, like on a very like simple, basic terms, but also the more complex side of teaching us how to build a model and like being able to us like try to do it was very interesting. And the second one I would say is Intro to Databases, which is a coding class. It teaches SQL, and I really liked this class because it was very like it had a lot of business use cases that were shown throughout the class that were extremely like realistic. So a lot of the things that I learned in that class, I'm actually using every day in my internship. So I think that has been like my most useful class.
Thank you. Perfect. Well, just to keep us moving, I'm gonna move away from kind of the academic side of the MBA experience because we have a lot more to talk about. The MBA is a lot more than just being in class. So the next few slides are really going to focus on the access that you have when you're pursuing your MBA here in New York City. So this slide is just a small sampling of the variety of companies that our students are interning at or gaining full-time employment from after the MBA. The beauty of being in New York is that pretty much all of these companies are either headquartered or have offices here in the city, giving our students the flexibility and access to connect with them, network with them. Our students are going downtown and into Midtown for coffee chats and to meet people from these companies, but also executives from these companies are regularly coming to campus and engaging with our students in class, at events, and through other opportunities that CBS offers on campus. I mentioned entrepreneurship and innovation at the top. It is a strong focus area for our school's leadership. I think a lot of people don't necessarily associate New York City as being a hub for the startup world and innovation, but many companies have been founded through Columbia Business School. Again, this is just a small sampling of on this slide of companies you might be familiar with that were founded by CBS students and alums. So if you are interested in launching or scaling your own company, I would definitely encourage you to check out the Lang Center. That's our center on campus for all things entrepreneurship, to understand the programs and the resources that are available to our MBA students when it comes to building their own companies. I briefly mentioned guest speakers. Our campus is a revolving door of visitors and guests. Again, given our location in New York, we're lucky enough to be able to welcome many speakers to campus. Some as large scale as the people you see on this slide, but then you will also regularly have guests in your classes invited by faculty members, where you can really have more intimate and smaller discussions with them in your classroom settings as well. Have either of you been able to attend any guest speaker events or want to speak to one you might have seen in class? Anything to add here from you guys?
Yeah, definitely a bunch of speaker events, maybe some that I remember as my favorite were the ones that are related to companies or products that I love. So, for example, we had the founders of Belly, the app to rate restaurants. That was super interesting. We also had the founder of Build-A-Bear, which also was amazing just to hear about how this woman like created this company from scratch and it's still around almost like 50 years later. And then the CEO of Barnes and Noble was another one that I really, really enjoyed.
Yeah, I think I agree with a lot of those. I think to tack on one that I personally really loved, the founder of BioDance, the K-beauty skincare company, was also here. It was really, really cool kind of hearing her whole journey. And we also got like freebies as gifts towards the end. So it was really cool.
Yeah, I was going to ask if either of you went to that. I really wanted one of those swag bags, but was not able to attend. But yes, to their points, lots of opportunities to engage with really interesting companies and leaders on our campus every week when the semester is in full swing. Um, So moving into kind of another major element of the MBA experience is, like I said at the top, you're joining a network, you're joining a community. A lot of this happens in the classroom through the clusters that we talked about, but there's a lot of other ways to get involved and really build your network and community on campus. And the first way is through our student-led clubs and organizations. We have over 80 student-led clubs. So again, this is not a comprehensive list that you see on this slide. Um, you could see the full list online, but our clubs are organized into a few different categories. Professional being one to really lean into to build out that professional network, be in groups of people that are going through the same recruiting process as you and working with second year students who might have recruited for these internships the year before, making sure you're really equipped with the tools and resources and again, the network you need to be successful in that given professional space. We have many affinity clubs and international clubs that you can join. These are more identity based, but open to everyone. And they host a variety of different social and professional events throughout the year. We have social and athletic and really more hobby-based clubs, I think of them as. So that's just a way to kind of get to know more students that are interested in the same things as you or try something new. The snow sports club is a big one, and I know many of those people do not know how to ski or snowboard, but they're joining and participating in events and trips to again really lean into building out their network while they're on campus. So like I said at the top, Valeria and Connie are both members of the Hermes Society, which is one of our leadership groups. But what other clubs are you all involved in and anything to really highlight about them?
Yeah, for me, I am currently involved with both the technology club. I'm the head of careers for Tech Club, and I'm also in marketing for the Taiwan Business Association. On top of that, I'm also a CMC fellow with our Career Management Center, where we would help the Career Management Center folks. Kind of talk to students and help them put together their resume and prepare for any interviews or recruiting.
Yeah, I also part of the tech club and the AI club more on the professional side. I definitely leveraged them a lot when I was recruiting. They have a lot of resources, a lot of like trainings you can use for interviews and for all of that. It's super helpful. On the social clubs, I love Art Society. They do a lot of outings to see Broadway shows or to see different exhibits and museums. And then I'm part of the board for the Gourmet Club, which is, in my opinion, the best club. We do a lot of like bakery crawls and like there's a famous dumpling tour in Chinatown, which was led by a professor last semester, which is really cool. And we also do like raffles for Michelin star dinners. So definitely taking advantage of everything New York has to offer in those departments.
Yeah, the Gourmet Club is cool. I find it to be so overwhelming to choose restaurants in New York because there's just so much to choose from. And the Gourmet Club, I think, does a good job of really creating opportunities and experiences to go to some good ones. So awesome.
Totally.
Thank you for sharing. Another element of our community, so we are a member of the consortium for graduate study and management. If you're not familiar with the consortium, I definitely encourage you to learn more. They are a third-party organization whose mission is to expand access and increase representation in business management. Um, so you can scan that QR code if you are interested and you feel that you align with their mission. And if you are a U.S. citizen or a permanent resident, you're welcome to apply through the consortium, which essentially allows you to apply to up to 6 member schools in a streamlined application process. So our team will offer more events and information on this in the next few weeks as we head into the round 1 deadline. But do just want to highlight that this is an element of our community. You'll see in the background of this slide a photo of our consortium class. We have one of the largest consortium classes amongst all the member schools, which we are really proud of. So definitely encourage you to learn more about that if that is of interest to you. Off campus, we also engage with our local community through a variety of different initiatives. So these photos are from a few different activities, one being Community Service Day, where our staff and our faculty actually go into local neighborhoods and spend a day away from our computers and away from our work, working in our local community. The other 2 photos are really through the CBS Community Impact Club, one of our student-led organizations that work with a variety of nonprofits in the local area to help, again, whether it's bringing consulting skills into these small businesses and companies or financial literacy. There's a lot of different things that the club does. And again, we are based here in New York City, and a lot of different ways to kind of experience the not just what's happening on campus, but around our campus as well, through different programs and activities at the school. And then even further off campus, like I said at the top, this is a global experience. We've talked a lot about the diversity of the class, and that students are from all over the world. Lots of opportunities to travel, formally through the school, and of course, then, with your peers and more social and fun trips as well. So if you're interested in this, I definitely encourage you to look up the Chazen Institute. That is our institute on campus that really oversees all things international business. They offer a variety of programs such as exchange programs, global immersion programs, study tours. I won't spend too much time getting into the weeds of what each of those are, but we're happy to answer more questions offline. Have either of you had a chance to do a Chazen trip yet, or are you planning to in your second year?
Yeah, I did the Korea beauty trek in over spring break last year.
Awesome.
So that was really, really cool.
Nice.
I haven't, but I really want to do either the Turkey or Australia one.
Awesome. I don't know where this photo was. But yeah, the global immersion and study tours, they change year over year based on, where our students and where our faculty are looking to travel. The clubs, like Connie mentioned, often organize different treks to different places. I know Retail and Luxury Goods did a trek one year to India. The Real Estate Association has done one to Australia. So lots of opportunities to really, step outside of New York City and see how these business concepts are being applied in different markets around the world. Um, we also have a very global and strong alumni community. So I always say to people, no matter where you end up after graduation, you will likely be able to find a group of alumni who are looking to bring you into their circle and bring you into their network. So There is a worldwide alumni network. There are over 75 clubs around the world. So a lot of students, I think, come into this with the misconception that they have to stay in New York City after graduation. Many do, but you do not need to. You could, again, really go anywhere and find a community of alums that are working and have lives in different cities and countries around the world, and eager to bring in more CBS graduates into their circles. So kind of moving on to what you have, I've given you a lot of information in the last 35-ish minutes, so you might be wondering how our students navigate all of this. So the next few slides will really kind of just give you a brief overview of different resources that are available to you as an MBA student, starting with the Career Management Center. Offers a variety of different resources to our current students. So all MBA students are assigned a career advisor. This is a staff member that you work one-on-one with to ensure you're prepared for recruiting, giving you guidance on your long-term career goals, making sure, again, you're set up for success through the MBA to get you to where you're looking to go next in your career after graduation. One of the highlights of the resources that the CMC offers are our executives in residence. These are about 30 C-suite level executives who basically serve as mentors to our CBS community. They give you a really high level bird's eye view of what a potential career could look like in their given industry or field. So these are available to all of our MBA students. This is not application based. This is a resource that's available to you once you're on campus. The bottom left-hand photo is from this year's past Admitted Students Day. They join us every year to engage with admitted students before they even get to campus. So they're really eager to meet you all and share their wisdom of their given industry and career with you all. Just to give you a sense of the impact of, pursuing your MBA, you can check out our employment report. That's where this QR code is linked to. We get a lot of questions about career outcomes and admissions, and I always point people to the employment report online to really give you a sense of where our students are landing and what that looks like. But the Career Management Center is a lifelong resource, something you could always come back to in the years after graduation. So it's not just about that first job after graduation, which again, these stats are showing you that our students are finding great success in that first job after graduation, but it's really about setting you up for success in the long term and making sure you always have a set of resources and a network to come back to through the Career Management Center. Another key resource during your time as an MBA student will be the Office of Student Affairs. Their team is really divided into two halves. You have your academic advising team, and then you have your student life team. So academic advisors are assigned to all students to really help you navigate resources for your curriculum and academic success. So if you need tutoring or advising, helping you understand your elective offerings and making those decisions each semester, you will have a dedicated advisor to help you do that. And then the student life team, they are partnering with all those clubs we talked about earlier. They have different initiatives on well-being and mental health drop-in hours. They're working closely with our student clubs and cluster boards as well. Another major question we get in admissions is, this all sounds great, but how am I going to fund this program? It is a large investment of your time and of your financial resources. So our financial aid team is here to help you at every stage in this process. You do not need to wait to apply. You do not need to wait to be admitted. If you have questions for the financial aid team, you can scan that QR code and please feel welcome to reach out to them. They're here to be a resource for you all. We do have some institutional funding available. If you apply in round 1 or round 2, which we will talk about in the next few slides, those are our priority deadlines for institutional funding. So you will automatically be considered for merit-based awards, and also all applicants will have access to a need-based scholarship application if they move forward in the admissions process. So that would be awarded at the time of admission. And happy to chat more about that offline if you have specific questions. And again, I encourage you to reach out to the financial aid team if you are looking to chat further about these options. Okay, so going to kind of spend the next, hopefully 10 minutes or so breezing through next steps in the application process. A lot of what I'm about to go through can definitely be found online, and I want to be sure we have time for Q&A at the end too. But as you're all hopefully looking towards, hopefully I've sold you all on the program along with Valeria and Connie, and now you're looking towards applying for the 2027 cycle. Regardless of if you're applying for August entry or January entry, we're looking for the same materials and evaluating these applications in the same way. We use this circle diagram to really demonstrate this is a holistic application process. Everything here has equal weight. We're looking to get a sense of who you are academically, professionally, and personally. But to kind of break it down piece by piece to give you an understanding of how we're looking at these materials. Starting with your academics, we will take a look at your undergraduate transcript, get a sense of any trends, what your GPA was, what types of classes you took. Totally okay if you're not coming from a traditional business background. That's actually becoming more and more rare. And you're coming to business school to learn those skills. We are just looking for a baseline understanding of how you performed as a student, to start to give us a sense of how you might show up in a business school classroom one day. We know this is where you have the least control over your application. So we're going to look at other data points as well to determine your academic readiness, including your standardized test score. For the MBA, we require a standardized test. You're welcome to take the GMAT, the GRE, or the executive assessment, and we have no preference to which exam you take. So I encourage you, if you haven't already started this, take the exam that you feel, take a few practice exams, see where you're feeling the most confident, and move forward with preparing for and submitting that exam. The next part of this circle is your professional promise. This is a professional program, so full-time work experience is a requirement. So we want to get a sense through your professional resume of what have you been up to in your career since graduating from undergrad. Be sure here to highlight any leadership where you've made an impact on your team, any growth you've had, progression you've had in your role. Regardless of where you're coming from, those are all themes we're going to be looking for on the resume. We ask for one letter of recommendation. Ideally, this is from a direct supervisor, but we also understand that's not always feasible. Maybe you're not disclosing your MBA plans, or maybe you haven't worked with that person for very long. That's totally okay. We see that probably more often than you think. We want to hear from someone who you work closely with on a day-to-day basis, someone who can really speak to the strengths of your work, the quality of your work, the impact you've made on your team, how you respond to feedback. So we care more about their relationship with you rather than their title or alumni status or other things that some people sometimes get caught up in. I won't spend a ton of time on the short answer and the essays because I have those on the next couple of slides. But these short answer questions and essay one will start to give us some insights into your career goals and why you're pursuing this MBA degree. But the last piece of this circle, your personal characteristics, this is where you really can bring some color into your application. This is what sets you apart and helps us get to know you a little bit better. We talked a lot about the community here on campus. So we want to get a sense of who you are, what are your values, what are you going to potentially bring to this community. It's really important to us to continue that culture of collaboration that we talked about, of people who are looking to spend their time on campus and growing their network. So we want to get a sense of how you spend your time and how you might spend your time here at Columbia Business School. Essays 2 and 3 will also give us some insight into your interests and your personal characteristics. And then finally, the interview, you'll see it listed under professional promise and personal characteristics. So the interviews are conducted by invitation only. It's a strong signal, at that point, we've seen everything on paper, everything looks good. We're eager to learn more about you. Doesn't really fall under the academic piece of this circle. It's not technical in nature. It's really an opportunity for you to have a conversation with a member of our community about your goals, your past experiences, again, who you are outside of work and outside of school. They're all virtual, they're about 40 minutes long, and they're conducted either by alumni ambassadors, current students, or members of the admissions team. Okay, so here are those short answer questions that I mentioned. Regardless of whether you're applying for January or August entry, the first short answer question is the same. We want to know what your immediate post MBA professional goal is. This is only 50 characters, so don't overthink it. This is meant to be really brief, and you have a chance to expand on that in essay one, which we'll talk a little bit more about. If you're applying to J-term, we want to know why you prefer the January entry program. Just knowing it's a little bit more unique in terms of an MBA format, we just want to get a sense that you've thought through it and that it makes sense for your goals. And if you apply to August, we want to get a sense of how you plan to spend the summer in between the 2 years. Here are our essay questions. These are the same regardless of if you're applying for January entry or August entry. So like I said, that first essay is what we think of as our careers essay. It's a chance to expand on that short answer question and tell us what your short-term goal is right after graduating from the MBA. But we also want to know what your long-term goal is, and we use the word dream job specifically. So this should feel ambitious. What would you love to be doing if no obstacles were against you and everything fell into place? What do you see yourself doing in the long term? I think with essay one, the most important thing I'll say here is don't spend a ton of time kind of repeating your past accomplishments and achievements. The prompt reads that through your resume and recommendation, we have a sense of your professional path to date. So make sure that your resume is formatted in a way that really highlights those achievements and that you're choosing a recommender that can really speak to that so that you can use these 500 words to tell us why you're pursuing an MBA, what your goals are, what's motivating you, and connect the dots for us to help us understand, based on your experiences, this is now what I'm interested in. This is how an MBA is going to help me get there. So that's essay one. Essay two, we talked about inclusive leadership earlier in the presentation. That is a core value to us here at CBS. So we want to get a sense of how you've started to demonstrate this. There's no right or wrong way to answer this question. It can be from a professional setting, an extracurricular setting. It could be from a past academic setting. We just want to get a sense of a time you helped a group become more collaborative, or felt like they had a greater sense of community than when you started with them. And finally, like I said earlier, there's a lot of really great MBA programs out there. Everyone is going to be unique for their own reasons, but we want to know what specifically at Columbia Business School has you excited to potentially join our community. How do you see yourself spending time here? How do you see yourself specifically co-creating your experience at CBS? So the way I read that essay prompt is, what are you going to do outside of what's required of you to really build an experience that's meaningful, impactful, and aligned with your goals and reasons for pursuing an MBA. So my advice on this essay is don't just go on our website and, rattle off 20 things that you see on there. Really spend some time getting to know us, talking to current students, getting a sense of what we offer that's really aligned with, again, your goals and interests, and pick a few things to really highlight in this essay to paint a picture for us of how you see yourself spending your time here. Okay, so our deadlines. I won't spend a ton of time here, and this is all available online, but our January 2027 application is still open for just under another month. So that application will close on August 13th. So still time to submit, but that round two deadline is coming up. We release interview decisions and final decisions on a rolling basis for January. So between now and the beginning of the fall, you will hear that decisions are kind of going out on a regular basis for January 2027. For August 2027, that application is now open with 3 very clear round deadlines. So the first round deadline is on September 9th, a second round deadline on January 5th, and a final deadline on March 29th. Like I said earlier, round one and round two are our priority deadlines. So if you're thinking about institutional funding, I highly recommend submitting your application in round one or round two. We absolutely admit through round three, we wouldn't have it if we didn't. But transparently, a lot of the money is spent by then. So if that is something that is top of mind for you, I highly recommend round one or round two. We will release interview decisions in waves, so by the deadlines that you see on this screen, and all final decisions will go out on the dates that you see outlined here. I highlighted the consortium earlier, so I just do want to mention that their deadlines are slightly different. So if you do choose to apply through the consortium, please follow their deadlines. If you apply by their early deadline, you will be a round one applicant at CBS. And if you apply by their final deadline, a round two applicant at CBS. Okay.